watch the show, you know it's not my cup of tea, Kyle Busch. I'm not a Kyle Busch fan. I do respect the talent that he has behind the wheel. And anybody that ever said, you know, Kyle Busch kind of on that downfall and on the downward slope of a career at 38 and doing it as long as he has and still being able to go out this early in the season and get a win, I think that this year you better watch out. What's going on, y'all? I'm Brandon Atlanta Man Bain, coming to you live right here, Coach's Corner, the center of the universe, Thunderbolt, Georgia. Another episode of Rubbin' and Grubbin'. Rubbin' is racing, grubbin' is tasting. Man, I hope everybody's having as good a Wednesday as I am tonight. I'm up here, you know, with LB, the producer, man, just hanging out back here at the Sound Garden at Coach's. Got a lot to go over, a lot of NASCAR news after that interesting race there at Fontana. Hey, I'm telling you, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. But before we get into all that, you know how we like to do the show. Started out, it's like what we call the word of the day. So if you're just tuning in, hadn't ever watched before, every time I say this word, you're going to take a sip of your favorite adult beverage, right? I always like to say it's age appropriate. If you're under 21, Kool-Aid, sweet tea, energy drink, whatever you got, it's got some sugar in it, man, you're more than welcome to play along as well. Get a little hyped up on Wednesday, right? So last week's word of the day was Ford. So if you watch the show, I'm sure I probably said that a million times. You know, at the end of the day, it wasn't a Ford that came home victorious.
Come on, man.
We'll get to that in just a bit. But this week's word of the day is going to be, I have no idea. Lawrence is going to throw it up somewhere. And every time I say it, make sure you take a sip of your favorite adult beverage. So getting into that NASCAR news, man, it did not take long at all for Rowdy to reemerge as a winner there in the Cup Series. 19 straight years with a Cup Series win for Kyle Busch, man. Came home victorious this past weekend at Auto Club there. Kind of a piece of history as well. Last time we're going to see a Cup Series race on that 2-mile track. It's one of my favorites. I really enjoyed it. Why we're changing it, I don't know. But that's for the higher-ups and the people that own it and NASCAR themselves. So, but at the end of the day, big shout-out, congratulations out there to Rowdy, Kyle Busch, for winning that race, man. More news, NASCAR driver Kyle the Martian Larson, as I like to call him, man, headed over to try out for the Indy 500, which is pretty neat, man. And not only is it going to be a one-year thing, it seems like the contract he signed is to do two, so he's going to try to run it 2 years back-to-back. Great race car driver. I mean, come on, how many guys have you seen, you know, from Cup Series or open wheel make transitions and go back and forth, right? We saw Tony do it. We've seen Juan Pablo do it. We've seen Kurt Busch go and attempt it. So many guys throughout the year in history of NASCAR have tried to attempt to do both. There's only been two that have ever won a Daytona 500 and the Indianapolis 500. So Kyle Larson, there again, man, I think that's a really good guy to do it. I think I love it when a team allows one of their mainstay drivers, one of their big faces, to go out and attempt to do things that he likes to do, right? We get some contracts out there like a Christopher Bell and some other guys, you know, that their ownership restricts them from going and doing the dirt racing and traveling over to other forms of motorsports to, you know, put their hand in it. So I love it when a team allows their drivers to be able to go out and do what they want to do and kind of make their own career for themselves and their name. I think that's a passion as a racer. You love to race, right? It's not just Cup Series. So big kudos to Hendrick for allowing them to go out and take that shot as well. So a little piece of Xfinity news, man. John Hunter Nemechek came home victorious there in that 20 car for Gibbs. And I tell you what, anybody that doubted John Hunter as a talented race car driver from his stint there in the 38 a few years back, I think he goes to show what he can do when he's given really good equipment. I mean, whether it's Xfinity, whether it's trucks, wherever it may be, he's just got talent. So I think maybe there again with some stuff coming up, we know Kevin Harvick's retiring at the end of the year. Got a young driver there, you know, John Hunter might fill that in. I mean, there's going to be some guys and some names that come up. We'll get into that a little bit later on in the season, but big shout out and congrats to John Hunter on winning that race, man. Had an absolute rocket ship, you know, young drivers. I mean, to speak of them, Junior Motorsports, right? I can't go without talking about Junior Motorsports in this. Did not win that race, but man, they had 3 cars inside that top 5. And I'm telling you, the new nickname for JRM over there is Little Hendricks, because I'm telling you right now, man, one, they got a lot of talent behind the wheels of those race cars, and two, they got some really, really, really good equipment. You know, we all know that's kind of a farm system for Hendrick. So at the end of the day, I love to see both those teams and drivers doing really well. And Xfinity racing, if you don't check it out, if you only watch on Sundays, man, make sure you tune in to watch the Xfinity series. That's you know, that's where they're made. And I tell you what, it's some really good racing down there. So make sure you tune in and check that out Saturdays, man. So want to stop right here. Big social media deal. If you haven't yet, please go out, like, share, follow all that social media we have. Twitter, Facebook, mainstay is a YouTube channel, so make sure you go and subscribe to that YouTube channel. We are 20 away. We just actually had 2 more subscribers here tonight before we got on to do the show. So we're 20 away from giving away this signed Kyle Larson helmet, man. 20 folks. If it doesn't happen this week, it's going to happen when we go to Atlanta in the next couple. I promise you that. Me and Lawrence go around. We've got some special things planned to do at Atlanta, just kind of for the show. And a lot of people subscribe there. We make big jumps there. So at the end of the day, it's going soon. But if you haven't yet, go out, like, share, follow, subscribe to that YouTube channel. Drop in the comments on one of the videos. Comment hashtag Larson. We're going to throw that name, one of our followers, out of the 250 or however many we have when we get back from Atlanta, hopefully. Somebody's going to be mailed this signed autographed helmet from Kyle Larson. So like I said, if you haven't, like, share, follow all that social media out there, man. And like I said, the more eyes we get on the show, hopefully the more money we raise for the charitable events and donations that we do here, not only on Rubbin' and Grubbin' Checkered Flag for Charity, but coaches as well. XRX, man, some little Thursday night dirt tracking around there, man. Hey, Tony Stewart, he's back running that full schedule, man. Smoke is a busy man. Got the drag racing stuff going on, got the SRX going on. No telling whatever else he might climb into and race throughout the season. But I tell you, I think this is probably going to be the best season at SRX so far. I mean, the amount of talent they have, from Clint Boyer to Kyle Busch to Chase Elliott to Kenny Wallace to Tony Stewart to all the open wheel guys that they have, all, Castor Nevis, all these guys that are in there to come out and do their thing and race on Thursday night. And I think that's going to pay dividends. Thursday night, especially this time of year, not much to watch. You'll have some, baseball games, maybe a basketball game or two, obviously. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to be a really good market for them to put out that brand on SRX. So I kind of keep up to date every so often, shoot some big stuff out there for SRX. It is a, NASCAR show, but I always try to, support former drivers in their endeavors. And I tell you what, SRX is awesome. I'll be tuning in Thursdays. Want to say it kicks off in July. So make sure you're ready for those Thursday night races when they do at SRX in July, man. It's going to be an awesome time. So details kind of emerge. Denny Hamlin's got his own podcast he does now. And I tell you what, if you hadn't watched it yet, it is a pretty good watch. But details emerge for that Kyle Busch, Joe Gibbs Racing contract talks. And according to Denny, it just pretty much came down to the amount of money Kyle wanted to be paid. Now, we heard from the man he was willing to take cuts, and obviously after losing a major sponsor like M&M's, you got to kind of reboot some of that money and revamp some of that money from elsewhere. I think it's kind of nobody's business really what happens. That's the business asset side of the sport. If Kyle wanted to talk about it or Gibbs wanted to talk about it, he would have. And at the end of the day, he took less money at RCR. But with that being said, the success that he's had at RCR right now is tied what he had in the past 2 seasons at Joe Gibbs, right? I mean, winning a race is one thing. He lucked into Bristol last year, if you honestly want it, to be truthful about it, with Reddick and Briscoe tangling up there towards the end, and drove away with that checkered. And the year before caught one, I think it was at Texas. So, I think he's on to bigger and better things, and I think he realized, maybe the relationship at Gibbs had just grown stale, and he needed a flame to be lit under his ass again, to be able to, get some of that passion back and be the talented race car driver he is. I mean, if you watch the show, it's not my cup of tea, Kyle Busch. I'm not a Kyle Busch fan. I do respect the talent that he has behind the wheel. And anybody that ever said, Kyle Busch kind of on that downfall and on the downward slope of a career at 38 and doing it as long as he has and still being able to go out this early in the season and get a win, I think that this year you better watch out. He could definitely be in, Cup Series title contentions depending on those summer months. If there's one thing about Kyle Busch, I say throughout his career, you go back and look, sometimes those later summer months really do him in. He does hit a lull. So, if they get that worked out and keep bringing these fast race cars out of RCR shop, Kyle Busch going to be victorious some more, y'all, guaranteed. So NASCAR changing aero, man, on road course racing and short tracks. So it's going to be really interesting. They're removing some of that underbody aerodynamic. Basically, it's going to reduce the horsepower by 30%. A 2-inch spoiler, removing some of the, I think they call them strakes, or strakes in the front and strakes underneath in the rear. And it's something they needed to do. We talked about it last year. Martinsville fell very short. Bristol, I think, fell very short as far as what we're used to seeing and how these cars race. I think some of that is also the changes they've made to Bristol over the years and just kind of the car that we have. So hopefully this does tighten up the field. Hopefully this does give us back some more of that passing and, you know, side-by-side action that we love at short tracks. We're never going to know until we see it. So we got some coming up. We'll see what happens, but there again, I think that we kind of fell lackluster outside. Probably New Hampshire was probably, to me, the best short track we had last year. And hopefully we can revamp the short track program in NASCAR and bring some more excitement back. So just have to see if these changes work out. Like I said, only time will tell, but I do give kudos to NASCAR for at least making some moves and trying some things to better that racing there at those shorter tracks for sure. So getting right in, checkered flag for charity, y'all. Like I said, this one's close to home. It's a dear friend of ours down there on Tybee, Jamie Monroe, Searhouse Monroe. Just been going through it, y'all, to be honest with you. Been going through it. So we've been raising money for her for family expenses, just everything that she's going through. And look, you know, I always like to say a checkered flag for charity. We pay out whatever car number wins. The 8 won last week. 20 always goes in. Anything under Christopher Bell, we're always going to throw in ourselves. That brings us up to $87 this year, which isn't bad if you consider, you know, 3 weeks of racing, and we're into almost $100, so it's not bad. Got some events coming up. We got, I think we're going to have a cooler here coming up this weekend for both concerts, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Cooler full of joy for our friends. So if you're coming out and plan on coming out to Coach's Corner for these concerts, make sure you bring a little bit of extra cash. Get on that. All this money that we're raising is going straight to her for that family expenses, like I said. And it doesn't matter, nickels, pennies, dimes, 10, 20s, 100s, 50s, whatever you got to give anytime you're up here at Coach's. Like I say, stop your waitress, stop your waiter, bartender. If you see John and Adele walking around, stop one of them and say, hey, I want to donate into the checkered flag for charity. They'll make sure that money gets to us and goes to the right places, man. But like I said, none of this is possible without Coach's Corner's patrons and you guys out here. Everything that we've always done on Rubbin' and Grubbin' has stayed 100% local. You know, whether it was for you know, families in the years past, Ronald McDonald House, just whatever it may be, Randy Davis. We've done for quite a few. So whatever it may be, it always goes directly to them. And the best part about it is it stays local right here in our area, man. So there again, like I said, make sure you bring some extra dough up. Always donate. It means the world to these families. So get a good feel good too. You know, pat yourself on the back. So before we get into that next segment, though, I do want to pause for station identification right here on Coach's Corner Sports Network. I hope everybody's having a great Wednesday night out there, y'all. So, you know, raise one, take a sip. Cheers to everybody at home. So getting into it, got to give a big shout out to Arbor Man Tree Service, my main man Parker Eccles over there. He sponsors the Who's Hot and Who's Not for the show. Getting ready to see him here in a couple weeks in Atlanta. Going to be an awesome time. Always is. Known him since, I don't know, we were 4 or 5 years old. Grew up with him. It's like a brother to me. But look, anywhere in the Savannah area you need tree service done, make sure you give Arbor Man a call. Like I said, locally owned, locally operated, insured, does an amazing bang-up job. My family, Lawrence's family, a lot of locals around here and people here at Coach's Corner have called Parker. So like I said, doesn't matter what it is, full tree removal, stump grinding, cutting some limbs back off the house. Hey, if you just need an estimate to figure out what you need to be done, give Parker a call. Be more than happy to swing by. You'll see that number scrolling on the screen all night long. So there again, tree service, Arbor Man. Parker got you locked down. Parker, love you, brother. I'll see you in a couple of weeks, man. I'll call you probably the week before and touch base with you and make sure we're set on go for it. But love you, dude. I'll see you in a couple of weeks, man. So getting into that who's hot and who's not, we always started out with the who's hot. And I hate to say it, but Kyle Busch takes over that top spot, man. If you look at the runs from the Clash into right there towards the end of that 500 and getting the win there at Auto Club out in Fontana, I mean, he's on fire. RCR and Kyle Busch are a good fit. We kind of questioned that there again, moving back over to Chevrolet. You know, different team members, just how you gel. And that's one thing that they talked about, you know, Kyle Busch and Richard Childress has talked about of just how he would show up there early, gelling with the team, doing, you know, event building type stuff, team building stuff to get that relationship before they got onto the racetrack. So big kudos out there to those guys working hard in those shops. It looks like RCR is not playing around this year. Austin Dillon is also running very well.
Rubbin' is racing and grubbin' is tasting.
I don't think they're playing around at all. I think RCR is here to kind of take that mainstay back into that top tier of teams of the Hendricks and Penske's and Gibbs I don't think that RCR ever fell too far, but they did fall a little bit. And I tell you what, they're climbing back up. And Kyle Busch is definitely a guy to do it with. We know how talented he is. To come in three weeks into the racing year, and get a win already. I got a feeling there's a lot more coming for the 8-car and RCR in general. I think you might see Austin Dillon be a multi-time winner this year. Just got to be there. So there again, taking over that hot spot, man. You know it wouldn't be rubbing and grubbing, and it wouldn't be Brandon Atlanta Man Bain talking if I wasn't dropping Chase the Bulldog Elliott coming in at 2 on that list, right? Hadn't been up front leading the laps. Look, we're young into it. They like to ease into it. I'm going to say out of the first 10, Elliott's at least going to get 2 wins out of these first 10 races. We got a road course coming up at COTA. I think you better have that one circled. He's definitely probably going to be in contention there. Atlanta, the home track, we saw what he did there last summer, excuse me. The 9 has a way of finding victory lane. So Lawrence was talking to me earlier, said he's not betting on a Hendricks car for a month. Which is pretty interesting. I'll bet on them all the time. But at the end of the day, the 9 comes home, second on that hot list, man. It's not going to be long. Hopefully Atlanta Man gets to see it happen in the spring at Atlanta. That would be huge for me to see the hometown boy and my favorite driver get the win with me being there. I saw it numerous times with Gordon throughout the years in Atlanta. I've yet to be there to see Chase get one, so I really hope that it happens. But at the end of the day, Alan Gustafson and that 9 team over there at Hendricks, they know what they're doing. That's a good pair between them. They kind of do things a little bit different, I think, than any other team at Hendricks. You don't see Elliott go out and really push equipment until it's time to push. So at the end of the day, Chase Bulldog Elliott, number 2 on that list. 3, the Watermelon Man. How have we just kind of gone under the radar about Ross Chastain, right? The Watermelon Man has shown up strong in every race that we've had this year. Daytona showed up strong. This one showed up really strong. Led a lot. I think he won stage 1 and stage 2, I'm pretty sure. But at the end of the day, I'm looking at a guy like Ross Chastain to probably get a victory coming up here soon as well. I kind of, we went through some teams and giving grades, and I said they're going to take a step down this year, and I might end up eating my words, but I still believe that. I still believe that Ross Chastain is going to make the playoffs, don't get me wrong, but I think we're going to see him step down a little bit. I don't know if we see him go out with 3 wins this year and be in the top 10 and top 5 the way he was last year. I just think that there's teams that have caught up kind of with that next-gen car. Now, I could be wrong. But at the end of the day, he's definitely 3rd on the list now. And like I know, I tell you guys all the time when we do the show, NASCAR is a very streaky sport. When you see a guy running really good and doesn't have that win yet, you better start betting on him. You want to get on that train before it happens. So Ross Chastain is one I'd have circled this weekend there at Las Vegas as well. Not to pull the cat out of the bag, but I'm pretty sure he had a really good run there last season as well, in the spring and in the fall. So at the end of the day, just got to watch out for him. So moving on to the who's not, this is really tough for me still so far, right? We hadn't really had anybody like rub somebody the wrong way yet in the sport to really make the not list for comments. But I'm going to put 2311 on there. 2311 is struggling a little bit right now. And I know that we're early, and I know that, Tyler Reddick is had some things kind of out of his doing. Bubba kind of had some things out of his doing. But at the end of the day, we're used to seeing Kurt Busch in that 45 and that past, NASCAR champion and winning in every manufacturer he ever drove for. That experience pays dividends when you're in the shop communicating with the guys building these race cars, setting up these race cars, and just the engineering aspect of it. So they did kind of lose that a little bit. We know they got Denny Hamlin there. I'm sure he's given his 2 cents in, but he's a full-time driver as well. So I think they're going to catch up. I think that we'll see them in victory lane this year. I really do. I do feel that. I think that they have 2 very young, talented race car drivers. It's just the consistency and just being there and finishing that race. And like I said, some things have gone out of their way that they can't control. I think this is a weekend here where they could rebound strong, but they got to go out, put themselves in the position to do it, and keep that position. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Hate to do it, but Kyle Larson makes the not list, man. And there again, it's just kind of things that are out of his doing. I mean, Daytona was there contending for that win all the way down to the finish until, mayhem happened. He got wiped out. Expecting a really good run there, probably one of his best racetracks at California. Mechanical failures. I mean, they got to get it together in the 5 camp, right? We don't like starting the year out that way. I'm a Hendrick fan. I'm an Elliott fan above all else, but I am a Hendrick Motorsports guy. That's what I grew up with Gordon. I'm always going to pull for him regardless. And at the end of the day, we can't be bringing equipment that fails. I mean, that's just something Hendrick doesn't do often. So I'm sure they got it lined out. I'm sure those guys over there, him and Cliff Daniels, are going to, get it moved in the right direction and start rolling out the wins that we're used to seeing Larson, checkers we're used to seeing them take. So, but right now they're on the knot. They got to get it together. And at the end of the day, I think they will. So that'll wrap it up there for the who's hot and who's not, man. We're getting ready to move right into that Auto Club recap. There again, you heard me talk about it earlier. Rowdy Kyle Busch, Kyle Rowdy, whatever you want to say. KFB came home victorious, man, with the checkers. Showed a really strong car there. I mean, I know he had a mishap, speeding off pit road or whatever, went to the back, came back to the front. And once he got the lead, man, he was gone. I'll tell you that. So I think that it's going to be, there again, something that we're going to see numerous times this year. I think Kyle Busch has really revamped. I think last year you saw the struggle of the negotiations on that contract really kind of weighing down on him, right? I mean, we saw it with Tyler Reddick as well, just the way that news got announced, and he still went out and did his job and won those races and performed for RCR. I'm not saying Kyle Busch sandbagged and didn't give his best at Gibbs, but you could just tell he wasn't happy. And I think that, there again, being happy and loving something that you do is going to pay dividends. Obviously, you're going to have your days where you're upset at somebody or upset about the way something come out, which we already saw at Daytona in true Kyle Busch fashion. But at the end of the day, you can't knock the talent. And the cars that RCR have right now are fast, and Kyle Busch is a very good driver. So at the end of the day, I think that combo there spells success, and you're going to see it. So like I said, Ross Chastain looked to be the car to beat. Won stage 1, stage 2, led a lot of laps, was very fast, man, was very, very fast. So there again, I think Trackhouse is the real deal. I think last year it kind of caught everybody off guard, especially me. And maybe that's just kind of the era we're moving into NASCAR, where you can open a team and be successful off the bat because of how equal these cars are now. In my day of growing up watching it, you weren't able to do that. It took years. It took a lot of money, and it took a lot of smart engineers and people in the right place to get you that equipment to be successful. Now, I think we're seeing new teams as 2311. That's a big back team. And obviously, Trackhouse isn't playing around. So I think they're the real deal. And Chastain's fast, so watch out for him, man. A few teams had trouble on pit road. The 19 car, Martin Truex Jr., lost a tire there on the racetrack, which spells trouble for a couple of crew members he's losing. If it happened on pit road, it would have been a different story. It wouldn't have been as big of a deal, but it happened on the racetrack. He tried to make it back around. That's a long way to go, and the tire just came off. So nothing they can do with that. It just kind of is what it is. Kyle Busch there again, another one that had it. We just had some guys that had some issues, man. And I say it all the time, pit road, the race can be won or lost on pit road. People think NASCAR is not a team sport. There's a guy behind the wheel that's driving the wheels off of that as fast and as hard as he can for 500 miles or 400 miles. But there's also team members that have to do their job correctly, or it can cost you a race or a lot of positions. So at the end of the day, it is a team sport, and pit crew and pit road is very important. So Kyle Larson there again, one of the favorites to win that race in the 5, man. I mean, I got to California kid. I mean, it's an awesome racetrack for him. Issues, mechanical issues, man. So there again, we had some guys that we don't see have mechanical issues very often, especially in the next gen car and coming out of Hendrick. You don't see that very often, but we did, and we saw it in the 5, and we saw it in one of the guys that was a favorite, and I'm sure he's bummed. But don't be surprised if you see him run really good here at Las Vegas again. I think him and Bowman battled it out for the win there last spring. And I think the 5 is going to be fast in a lot of places that we go this year. So don't count him out just yet because he had a bad run. They're probably going to come back hungry, especially to this one here. So, if you're looking at somebody to take this weekend, Kyle Larson might be that guy to go out and get that win. So getting into this Las Vegas preview, man, very unique mile and a half. I know everybody likes to call them cookie cutters. Everybody likes to say, hey, they're all the same. Every mile and a half has its own characteristics, and Vegas is no different. It's a D shape, if you will. It's more of a D shape, very fast. Cornering's a little bit different on both ends. But at the end of the day, if you're watching out moving forward, I think it's going to be an amazing race there at Vegas. So make sure you tune in Sunday, 3:30, 3-ish, I think. Make sure you tune in and catch the Cup Series, man, because Vegas is a really, really neat racetrack for sure. So heading into that top 5 picks there for Vegas, I mean, I think it's really hard to pick against this guy. I think if you're trying to pick somebody number 1, you got to go with Kyle Busch. Hometown track for him, won last week, got the momentum, has fast race cars, has won here before. So there again, I think it's just you got to take him 1. So number 1 on my list will be Kyle Busch. 2 for me, Joey Logano. That was that fall winner, the playoff winner there at Las Vegas. I think that Penske traditionally runs very well there. We saw Brad Keselowski win quite a few. We've seen Joey win a couple. So there again, I think Joey Logano is another guy you have to put on that top 5 list to go out and contend for that win there at Vegas. 22's been fast as well all season, so we'll see if he can go get that job done. 3 for me, come on, I told y'all, Chase the Bulldog Elliott, man. He's going to make 3rd on the list. I know he hasn't come out and shown, the best of the speeds, but finished 2nd last week after starting back in that field and brought it home. I think had that gone green a little longer, he might have been able to reel him in depending on what Kyle Busch was doing or a late caution there. And we might be talking about Chase Elliott being victorious. So there again, I think it's just kind of how the cookies crumble sometime, but I will take Chase the Bulldog Elliott 3 on my list. 4. I just mentioned him, Kyle the Martian Larson, man. The guy is very talented. Las Vegas there again, almost had the victory there last year. I think it speaks dividends on just the talent that the young guy has and how well-rounded that team is as a whole. Him and Cliff Daniels definitely have some good chemistry, and we'll see what he can do, but he will make 4 on that list. 5 for me was very hard there again. A lot of guys I think fit in easy to the 5 spot, but Ross Chastain, the Watermelon Man. I'm pretty sure if we talk about this same race last year in the next-gen car, he led a lot of laps. I'm pretty sure he finished 3rd. Led a lot of laps there at Vegas, I'm pretty sure. So at the end of the day, it's just somebody you got to watch out for. Watermelon Man is coming with the speed. Trackhouse isn't joking around. So I think there again, after watching what he did at Auto Club last week, I think that you can hold him as just as good as any of the other top 4 guys I named to have a shot at the win. So we'll see where we go as far as what's going on, but those are my 5 picks. Looking for some dark horses. Again, another RCR car, the 3 Austin Dillon. I said they got really good equipment. He's been running really, really well. Could get you a nice top 3 finish, and who knows, might be victorious. 19 of Martin Truex Jr. is another guy I think that we don't talk enough about in contending for wins. Had a really good run here at Vegas last year, just kind of didn't pan out. I don't remember exactly what happened to him, but it didn't pan out for him. But I think that, he's got a shot to go out, and I know the odds are looking pretty good on him as we sit right now, so watch out for him. And the guy that's won there, like I said numerous times, Brad Keselowski, man. The 6 car, even with the trouble they had last week at Auto Club, came back to finish 7th. So I think that's something to be talked about, especially at RFK. There you go, the Ford. Lawrence throwing in the cuss words. I'll throw $1 in there because that's a cuss word. The Fords, and they run strong. And I know a lot of those wins were in Penske, but I think we got to talk about how good of a leap Roush has made with Keselowski from last year to what speed we're showing this year already. So there again, wouldn't be surprised if Bad Brad goes out and puts that car inside the top 10, top 5 even maybe. So moving into the money line. And before we do, man, it is sponsored by Redfin Polarized Sunglasses. Whether you got money on the line or a wall hanger, I tell you guys all the time, make sure you see it clearly with the best polarized sunglasses on the planet, man. Italian frames, Carl Zeiss, lenses, dude. You cannot beat these glasses. These are my favorite glasses, man. Like I said, made for the woods, made for the water. Like I said, whether you're out on the lake or you're out on the ocean, man, do not get caught without your red fins, man. Live life fin up. When you go to check out, make sure you can check us out. Use code RubbinandGrubbin15, and it'll save you 15% there at checkout, man. And like I said, their website's amazing, redfinpolarized.com. Make sure you guys go check them out. I'm probably getting ready to order another pair here coming up later this year. I've got some gifts I need to give, and I also want another pair. I love these so much, I'm going to have a second pair of them. But like I said, Redfin Polarized, live life fins up, y'all. So getting into this money line, and look, this one is tough for me too. We don't have much data to go off of so far in picking winners, and I haven't been picking very good. We started out hot at the Clash. We started out hot at the Duels. We lost. We lost quite a bit there. We're still up 165 units on the year, which isn't bad, but we got to get a win. We got to get some wins. And me and Lawrence, we do our thing. We do trucks. We do Xfinity. I think we're going to kind of tone down a little bit on some of it. Lawrence says no, we're not, but I'm wanting to tone down a little bit. We've been really close in Xfinity as well, and we came close this past week. We took Harvick for a top 3. He finished 5th. I thought, he was going to get our top 3 finish for, and I thought, we took one of the favorites. We didn't take Kyle Busch, which I don't know how we didn't, but we didn't, and we lost. So this week, like I said, I'm going with the favorites, the guys I just put on that list, the 8, the 1, the 9, the 5, and the 22. Somebody out there between those 5 cars got to have decent enough odds to bet on to profit some money. And there again, there's going to be some guys looking a little bit deeper in the field that hold some value. The 4-car, I'm going to stay on that 4-car train. I think Stuart Haas is putting all the eggs in that basket right now to get Harvick some wins in that retirement year. And I'm sure he'll come in with some really good odds. Like I said, I think the 19 is another really good value. Great equipment over there at Gibbs. You know, those guys can get hot and win a race at any time. So those are probably 2 little deeper guys. If you're looking for a guy, what we do, we don't do top 10s. But if you're looking for a guy on something that you do that's a top 10 that has good value, look out for Corey LaJoie. Statistically pretty good at this racetrack. I think he finished 15th in the spring. Has shown speed this year. I think they are, well, I want to say it's 10 or 15 spots ahead in points of where they started the year out last year. So, you know, it's a guy you might have to look at to bet on a top 10 if that's what you guys do. I'll take him at Atlanta for a win. That'll be my dark horse at Atlanta. You heard it here first. It's a couple weeks out. I will be taking him at Atlanta for a dark horse. We almost hit really big last year with him. Oh, we were this close. I wish he would have just not thrown the block on Elliott and just stayed where he was at, and we had the winner and 2 top 3 finishers, and that was a big payday for me and Lawrence. But we missed. We were close, but we missed. So, like I said, make sure you check out that YouTube channel. Tune in here on Rubbin' and Grubbin' next week to find out exactly who we bet on, exactly how we did. Like I said, I'm pretty sure we took Logano and a few other guys this past week. I'll start giving you guys a rundown of exactly how we bet it and what we bet on. I'll start doing that next week. Yeah. Yeah, it is posted on Twitter and Facebook, right? We posted up there before the race on Sunday as soon as we placed that bet. So you can see it there, but if you don't follow us on either one of those, I will start giving it out on the show how we do. So at the end of the day, that's going to wrap it up for that money line. Getting into the hard right turn, and this is sponsored by Lamar's Body Shop. Before we get into it, 35 plus years of taking care of all Savannah's auto collision needs. It doesn't matter what it is, insurance work, need a new paint job, man, make sure you take it up there to Lamar. 2301 Skidaway Road, so it's not far from Coach's at all, literally a hop, skip, and jump, man. You can take it up there, drop it off, come back, eat lunch here at Coach's, some of the great food we have here. Go back up and get your car or your estimate and go, hey, man, all right, you know. But like I like to say all the time, been serving the Savannah area 35 plus years, and why settle for par when you can go see Lamar? I actually got to talk to the man himself in person tonight. Thank you, Lamar, for everything you do for us here at Rubbin' and Grubbin', man. And I love you, dude. Can't wait to see you again. So getting into that hard right turn, and this has been pretty difficult to get on this year too, really, because there's not really been that much drama. I mean, I went over the fans complaining. And this kind of goes hand in hand with that a little bit. Unclear on the future is what this week's, hard right turn is. Unclear on the future. So this week's hard, and it's really hard to talk about because we know that was the last race on the 2-mile layout at Auto Club. And really, the plans finally got today where we got 90 acres, I think is what they bought. 100 and some change is going to be the parking lot. So almost 200 acres, which about fits for a short track venue. Which, why we're turning that into a short track, I really don't know. But whatever it is what it is, especially when the short track racing is what fans complain about the most. They go, we need more short tracks, we need more short tracks. But then when we raced Martinsville last year and we raced Bristol last year, everybody was like, this isn't the short track racing we want. They got to do something with the next gen car, but we need more short tracks, right? I just don't get that. I think the race that we just saw at Auto Club was amazing. You had guys that had long run cars that came on late. You had guys that were leading at some point in time. You even had a little bit of action with some wrecks there. I think that people that think we just want to see cars ride by side, whether it be on a 1.5 miles, whether it be on a short track, whether it be super speedways, has lost their mind. Atlanta, I was kind of upset it getting changed, right? But it was time, kind of like Auto Club. The surfaces wore out. What do? Do we repave and keep it the same, or do we try to propel ourselves for the next 20 years with something unique? And Atlanta did something very cool. I mean, that's neat. Auto Club, short track, I'm sure it's going to be an amazing venue. NASCAR is not going to let Southern California come off of that geographical, fan base. They're going to put a race down there in Southern California to keep that fan base going, right? Larry McReynolds talked about it. They used to have actually 2 races down in Southern California into the 80s, and then you lost both of them, kind of. So at the end of the day, it's still gonna be there. But my question and what I'm going at is for everybody out there that goes 1.5 mile tracks or cookie cutters, they're all the same, they all suck. 1.5 miles had their all own characteristics. They might look similar, they might be shaped somewhat similar, but every single one, whether it be banking, whether it be tire abrasion, whether it be the length of the race, whatever it may be, all of them are different. The corners are different. The tri-ovals are different. The way you race that track compared to Atlanta, you know, the old Atlanta compared to the Charlotte is two totally different things. So I just think that's kind of some knowledge from younger NASCAR fans that really hadn't been around long enough to kind of soak in what mile-and-a-half racing is. And to me, that is NASCAR. Mile-and-a-half tracks to me are NASCAR. I grew up in the era where they were popping up left and right. I mean, honestly, Vegas, you know, California, Atlanta when it got repaved, you know, Charlotte whenever it got repaved. I mean, those tracks that they were popping up were NASCAR. And to me, that still is. You get the best guys out front running it down. You get guys that have better long run. Today's day and age, NASCAR fuel mileage isn't anything anymore as far as that goes. But at the end of the day, it's still NASCAR racing, mile-and-a-half. Short tracks to me kind of came second, tied in there with super speedways, right? I'm still not a huge fan of super speedway racing, even though Atlanta is a unique super speedway. I enjoy it. I think it's awesome. But in person, I'm always going to represent Atlanta. You know that. And by the way, big shout out to AMS for the support on liking our stuff on YouTube. And we'll be there in a couple weeks, which is going to be awesome. I got some news to drop. I'm not going to drop it yet. You got to tune in a couple weeks before we go to Atlanta to catch that. But at the end of the day, getting back to what I was saying, short tracks to me, if we're going to bitch about it and complain about it and go, why would we want more of them, right? So, and there again, we don't know what Auto Club's going to be. Texas is still up in the air. We're complaining about Texas. Another mile-and-a-half was built in my generation. We're talking about Texas and going, oh, we need to do something with Texas. And I'm going to stay hard on this bandwagon, and I'm going to keep pushing it out there until hopefully somebody maybe that like has some control hears it. Texas should be turned into a permanent dirt track. 3/4 of a mile, whatever you want to do. Some kind of unique dirt track. The dirt track racing scene down there, super late models, wing sprints, silver crown, whatever it may be, is big. They would go. You can put on venues there year round in Texas with that style racing. NASCAR, Truck Series, even if you want to bring Xfinity Series in. I mean, come on, man. There's things that can happen, right? We take Texas, turn it into a dirt track. We put Rockingham back on the schedule while Auto Club's becoming its short track. We take the dirt off of Bristol and race Bristol on the true traditional short track twice a year. That's given 2 more short track races than what we have now, right? So I think that's a solution. It's just, to me, like I said, mile-and-a-half are what it is. I don't think we need more short tracks. I honestly don't. I think that we need to work inside that schedule we have now and build NASCAR back up to what it was. I think that I get NASCAR trying to do new things and get to those new venues like the street racing. That is definitely not the answer. If you want my honest opinion on it, that's not the answer. But at the end of the day, they're doing what they have to do to get the eyes on the sport to build back up to that pinnacle of the late 90s and 2000s there. I mean, that when you look at Atlanta Motor Speedway, and in my day, I've been there and seen it, when there's 130,000+ people in the stands. I mean, they literally tore down, you know, so much stuff, built stands on the front stretch, stands all the way around down the back stretch through 3 and 4 to turn around 8 years later, 9 years later, 10 years later and tear it all down because it just wasn't filling. So until we get back to that point of 100,000+, which we're there, man, we're selling out. Daytona sold out. Auto Club had a great showing there. I mean, I think we're going to sell out a lot more races this year. So I think we're moving in the right direction. I just don't think short tracks are the answer with the next-gen car. Maybe we get it lined out. Maybe what I talked about earlier and taking this off the car and doing this, maybe it works. Maybe the short track racing gets better. Maybe they will do more short tracks. Just me, my honest opinion. I don't want to see more street courses. I don't want to see more road courses. I don't want to see more short tracks. I want to work inside that schedule we have now. That's just my thoughts. So that's going to do it up for the rubbing. We are on to the grubbing, and I got a staple. This is one of my favorite here. This is the salad. And I don't know if you guys have ever had a salad from Coach's Corner, but they have some really good salads. So this is the Gamecock. I got mine buffaloed. It's got black olives, green peppers, mushrooms, tomatoes, lettuce, onion. I always roll with the ranch. My wife goes to blue cheese. I went cheddar. She goes feta. But I'm telling you guys right now, man, this is a really, really good salad. And they've got quite a few options, too. If you don't like it, like I say, Coach's is well at building anything that you want inside their menu options. So as I always say, man, if you haven't yet, you either are incarcerated, which I know you got cell phones, or you're underneath a rock, man. You got to make it out here to Coach's Corner. A little bit more, got to give some shout outs to the shows, man. Carl DeMasi Prep Sports Report. doing big things, man. I'm hoping to get on there and and shoot some baseball with them here coming up when we get back. That comes on live every Saturday morning, 9 until here at Coach's Corner on the Sound Garden as well. Coach Demasi does an amazing job, keeping you up to date, whether it's girls basketball, softball, baseball, football, swimming, archery, lacrosse, whatever else they got going on, it's golf, whatever else they got going on in high school sports now, Demasi's the man to know. He keeps you up to date on all that. Also has some athletes from around the area, man. So, I heard him give a shout out looking for, some reports. He'll even pay you for him, he said. Giving some school shout outs. He goes, reporters are dying in school. We need some reporters. He said he's going to pay you for it, man. So if you're out there in high school, keep up, go to your game, man. Write it down, send it to Demasi, man. You end up on a show, hey, he'll pay you for it. Also know, Coach is going to be starting back up that Who's on First Base Major League Baseball show, which is amazing. Keeping you up to date on all the happenings, who's hot, who's not, who's being traded when they're traded, home games, away games, who to look out for, who the underdog is, who the favorite is. They do so much. I'm hoping to hop on that and shoot a little bit of Braves baseball and overall general MLB stuff with Coach and Kyle Lawson. They always do that together. That's an awesome show. Not far away from the 19th hole there with the Masters. This would be, the 4th edition or 3rd edition of that here at Henderson's Cabin. Those boys, those boys put on a show, man. The Hurd brothers are awesome. Sean and Brent do an amazing job. I think they stay lit for about a week up here doing that. But at the end of the day, right there, Masters Week, make sure you're tuning in for it on John Henderson's Coach's Corner Live Facebook feed. You will see that show, and it is not one to miss. That is an awesome show. So that's going to wrap it up, man. I just do it there again. Want to thank everybody, John and Adele Henderson, their whole staff, everybody here at Coach's Corner for making me and letting me be a part of the Coach's Corner Sports Network. I mean, this has just been such a big deal for me. Going on 4 seasons here doing this, 4 to many more. Hopefully we keep this ball rolling and only continue to grow and raising money for these charities and getting more people to come out and enjoy. That's what it's all about for me. Anyways, like I said, I always get to talk NASCAR. It's my favorite sport behind college football. I mean, it's neck and neck with college football, to be honest. Love my dogs, but I love my NASCAR too. And it's just been such a privilege over 4 years to keep doing this with John and everybody here at Coach's. So, like I said, big shout out, big pat on the back to them. I absolutely love it. It's such an honor to be part of the Coach's family, man. Everybody involved that makes this place go round are some real stand-up folks, man. And at the end of the day, I just want to tell everybody, I hope everybody's having a good Wednesday. Hug your loved ones. Make sure you give them a kiss. Tomorrow is not guaranteed, y'all. If there's somebody you hadn't talked to in a while and you've been thinking about them, reach out, contact them, man. Shoot the shit with them for a minute. I'm telling you, man, we're losing too many folks out here left and right. Everybody's going. We never know when it's going to be our time. So like I say, enjoy all that time you have with family and friends, man, because it goes by too fast. There again, love y'all. Outro. I hope everybody has a great Wednesday night. And as always, till next time, stay safe. And as always, wash your hands, y'all. Peace.